The gun salute had been set to coincide with the moment the King set foot on Welsh soil. And so it was. Moments like these, years in the planning, still unfolding 8 days on from the Queen's death. The streets around Llandaff Cathedral in Cardiff were packed, 64 years on from his first visit to Wales, in an era when they still used to sing, "God bless the Prince of Wales." The King and Queen Consort listened, the Prime Minister nearby, as the Archbishop of Wales paid tribute to the late Queen. He talked of her ability to influence through soft power.
Prime Ministers found that she was a trusted confidant. Her attention to matters of government, her knowledge of world events, and the longevity of her reign gave her an unmatched perspective and ability to see the distant scene.
At the end of the service, Hen Vlad Fy Hadau, the Welsh national anthem, was sung and God Save the King. It is the final leg of his UK nations tour ahead of Monday's state funeral. And for all the talk of history, it was to the building symbolising the modern political landscape of Wales where the King went next. Cardiff and Westminster governments have clashed repeatedly in recent years over the issue of devolved power. Today at the Senedd, its Speaker summoned memories of past independent Welsh princes and saluted what she said had been the Queen's enduring commitment to this, the Welsh Parliament.
The Queen respected this Parliament because she respected the democratic choices of the people of Wales. She saw us come of age and was interested in our next steps. From Glyndwr's first Senedd of the 15th century in Machynlleth to the one in which we are gathered today, our story is old, but our democracy is young and ambitious.
The First Minister presented a motion of condolence before they watched a British monarch address them in English and repeatedly in Welsh. More history.
Diolch o galon I chi am ich geriau caredig. Through all the years of her reign, the land of Wales could not have been closer to my mother's heart. It must surely be counted the greatest privilege to belong to a land that could inspire such devotion.
And then, as they listened outside, he spoke again about making his son, William, the new Prince of Wales, a subject which has already triggered significant debate.
Braint oedd bod yn dywysog Cymru mor hir. An awr bydd fy mab William yn derbyn y teitl. Mae ganddo ef gariad dyfn at Gymru. That ancient title, dating from the time of those great Welsh rulers like Llywelyn ap Griffith, whose memory is still rightly honoured, I now pass to my son William, whose love for this corner of the earth is made all the greater by the years he himself has spent here.
The crowd cheered the royal party as they left, but not all. A small handful of protesters, "Not my king," written on their posters, booed briefly. A petition calling for an end to the monarch-appointed Prince of Wales title, seen by some as symbolising historic subjugation of the Welsh, has gathered in recent days more than 28,000 signatures. As we've just heard, the King made special reference again to handing the title of Prince of Wales to his son William. And as the dust settles on ceremonial days like this, the issue of another Prince William's investiture will likely fuel many a debate. Such as what form an investiture might take 53 years on from the protests which preceded the last. At Cardiff Castle, the sound of some protest, but mostly cheers. In their numbers, they gathered outside the banqueting hall. Inside, the King met a group of women from Aberfan, scene of the 1966 coal waste disaster. It was among his last engagements of the day. There was a brief inspection of the mascot of the Royal Welsh, Lance Corporal Shenkin IV, one more walkabout, and then it was over. Scotland, Northern Ireland, and now Wales. The first tour of the Union in the reign of Charles III.
Well, earlier I spoke to the First Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford, and I began by asking him to reflect on the different dimensions in today's visit.
Well, I think it was a rather strange but successful mixture of sorrow and celebration. We started the morning here in Llandaff Cathedral with a service reflecting on the life of Queen Elizabeth, and we ended with a new king being presented to crowds at Cardiff Castle. So a day of transition is how I think I would sum up the feeling in Cardiff today.
Right, I mean, yes, I mean, the crowds certainly at the cathedral were very celebratory. At the castle, it was much more divided, wasn't it? I mean, there was protest, and there were mourners, and there were people who were really just there to be there.
Well, I think there is a variety of views in Wales on the future involvement of the monarchy in Wales. The dominant strand is the celebratory strand, but there are other views and a legitimate debate.
I mean, you will have spoken to the King when he was Prince Charles as well. I mean, how sensitive is he to the political realities of Wales?
Well, I think he's steeped in the political realities. Back in 1969, the level of conflict in Wales at that time over the language, over the monarchy, was far more intense than it is today. And he's had 60 years of visiting Wales every single year. There can't be a corner of Wales that he hasn't visited.
How do you think that will be reflected in the new Prince of Wales and the plans for him?
Well, I do think it's important to give the new Prince of Wales the time he will need to establish himself in that new role. He's following somebody who's done it for 60 years. We can't expect that a new prince will instantly have his own ideas of how to make the best of that job. When I had my one conversation with him, he said he wanted to take things slowly. And I thought that was a very sensible way of approaching it.
Did you take from that that if there is to be an investiture, effectively a coronation of the Prince of Wales, it's going to be some time away?
Well, if I were to be asked for my advice, it would certainly be to say that we shouldn't be in haste.
You're saying, you know, Wales is a different place to what it was in 1969, and that needs to be taken into account. In England, of course, the coronation of the King will be very much drawn from what happened to his mother decades ago. Why should Wales be treated differently?
It is possible, I think, to have a balance between those things that give messages of continuity and rootedness in history, while still demonstrating that this is not an institution stuck in that past. I
mean, what I'm getting from you is that it's not a given that King Charles gets the same sentiment in Wales that Queen Elizabeth had. And that's something that's as yet to be seen.
Well, I think today suggests that the new king is off to a very good start in that way. You would not expect somebody who has been a monarch for about a week to have that same money in the bank that comes with a monarch who has been there for 70 years and has demonstrated throughout that period her attachment to Wales, her sense of public duty and so on. But I don't think he's off to a standing start. I think you could see today is an enormous reservoir of goodwill ready to be put to work, but you can't expect it to be the same as someone who'd had 70 years of building up that affinity.
Mark Drakeford, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So how has the royal visit been going down with the people here? I was up with the early crowds of royal fans waiting for the King, and also met the other side, who were instead marking Owen Glyndŵr Day, named for the last Welsh Prince of Wales, who led a war of independence against England. Outside Llandaff Cathedral this morning, a crowd of ardent royal supporters waited for hours.
We just felt we wanted to be here to show our respects, I suppose, and
yeah, it's a historic occasion. It's the first visit of the new king to Wales.
I met him in St James's Palace years ago, and I wasn't a royalist at first, but after I met him,
I'm a big fan now.
There was plenty of time to consider the big questions. What do you think Wales gets from having a Prince of Wales?
Prestige.
Prestige.
Yes. Prestige.
It's always on the map.
Yes.
I mean, it would just be a little adjunct of England if it didn't have a Prince of Wales who visited. Therefore, the press would be visiting and the world would be visiting.
The Welsh language makes Wales what it is, and it's one of the oldest languages in Europe, and that holds a special place in my heart for me.
So if you were teaching Prince William about Wales and the Welsh language, what would you want to teach him?
Well, I'd teach him that, you know, I do believe that, you know, the Welsh language should be championed more, and I think that's something important to me. And I do believe that the royal family, if they want to represent Wales as it is, could do more with Wales. I do believe that.
Prince Charles learnt a little bit of Welsh. Do you think Prince William should?
Definitely, yeah, 100%.
He touched my veterans badge and he noticed that because I'm ex-RAF and my sister-in-law.
And he wanted to know where if we were local.
And what time did we get?
And what time did we get?
Did he
and then he said, "Thank you very much for coming." He's just
and I
been
said,
absolutely
God
amazing.
bless him. I'm so proud. I wanted to go to London and I just couldn't have queued for hours. But we've been here since 12:45, and I'm so happy. And he touched my bag. I can't believe it. And I love the Queen.
And he went that way, but then he came over. Oh, we all started screaming. I'm still shaking.
We had quite
we all thought like he wouldn't come this way.
Yeah, we didn't think it would happen, but it's so surreal. Oh my God.
We would have
get
You know, people say that the younger generation are a bit more sceptical about royalty in Wales. Is that not true?
No. I consider myself a huge royalist. I love the royal family, and I can guarantee most of us here love and respect what the royal family do.
He just said how lovely the dogs were. I hope you haven't been waiting too long. And I said, well, actually, we've been here 7 hours because that's the truth. But it's worth it. I didn't realise they were as heavy as this. And when Camilla came round, that was beautiful.
What do you think of that?
I think she's absolutely... I've never met her before, and the lady is just so beautiful.
But at Cardiff Castle in the city centre, this is contested ground. Did you forget to write the message?
No, it's intentionally blank.
What's that about then?
Well, I oppose the monarchy, and I oppose all the arrests that have been made of people opposing the monarchy, and I thought they can't arrest me if I don't write on my sign.
We've got to show our support for the King, and it's just a lovely day. The atmosphere has been lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite mixed though, isn't it? I'm just wondering what you make of the...
Oh, we don't like that.
Not a lot.
Behind you.
Not a lot. I think it's quite disrespectful.
Very disrespectful.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Don't like it at all.
Everybody's got a right to their own opinion, but I'm not sure if it's the right time and place, really.
Well, when is the time then? When is the time to get our country back, to get independence and freedom for our people? When is it? When is it ever going to be right?
I'm disappointed. There's a time and place for everything, but today isn't the day.
Why have you come here?
Because it's Owain Glyndŵr Day, and we celebrate our real Welsh Prince Day on this day. So I'm here to celebrate the old Prince of Wales.
What does Owain Glyndŵr Day mean to you?
Well, it's the only real prince. We have had other princes thrust upon us.
The Republicans were a minority, but when the King arrived, they made themselves heard. Well, joining me now are Oriel Miller, Director of the Institute of Welsh Affairs, an independent think tank based here in Cardiff, and Adam Johannes from Real Democracy Now, a group which supports Welsh independence and is anti-monarchy. Oriel, how is this question going to be settled, the Welsh people's relationship with the monarchy? What are the things that will determine it?
I think it's a really interesting question, particularly today of all days. But what matters most of all at the moment, Krishnan, is how the governments of the UK work together in relation to the people of Wales. That's what really matters in terms of the difference it's going to make in everybody's everyday lives.
Yes, I mean, today in the protests, Adam, a lot of people were complaining about the cost of living, about water, about all sorts of things that are nothing to do with the monarchy. I mean, does the monarchy get blamed for the Westminster government?
I think, first of all, I think it's very important to remember that South Wales was once a cradle and a crucible of our democracy, for people who don't know their history. In the good old days of the British Empire, where the sun never set, the blood never dried, while Britain was busy invading other people's countries, most people here had no human rights, no civil rights, no rights of education, no rights of vote, and people rose up in South Wales in their thousands, in Newport in 1839, in Armed Rebellion to establish a democratic republic. So we really stand in that tradition.
In terms of the future, I mean, what I'm putting to you is, do you think the monarchy gets blamed for the behaviour of Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, everything else?
Well, in a sense, the monarchy is a brand symbol for inequality. The fact that we have an unelected head of state, I think it almost customizes us or normalizes the idea that so many other forces that shape our lives, the banks and corporations, are unelected. We have very little democratic control. So it's very much a symbol of power and privilege and deference to that.
Oriel, so what are the things the two governments need to bear in mind then and do?
Well, I think we've seen some changes in terms of intergovernmental relations being set out at the beginning of this year. We want to see that being delivered on now. So we want to see governments working together, making sure that the investment is reaching the people in Wales and we can start changing their future in the way that people want it to be changed. So what we want to see also is Parliament scrutinising the decisions and those working relationships of governments as well. So it's the mechanics of things behind the scenes. I mean, we're also, we're very conscious, aren't we, that people understand now where we are in the COVID pandemic, that decisions are made in different places by different people that affect people's day-to-day lives. And people want to feel connected to their government wherever those decisions are taken.
What about the things that the new Prince of Wales can do and the King can do? Are there sorts of practical things that they ought to be thinking about? Having an official residence in Wales for a start, which there isn't. Would that make a difference?
I'm not sure that's what really matters. I think how Wales is seen on the world stage is something that the Prince of Wales can do and the King can do too. And I think Wales has a growing confidence about how it is seen. And in terms of leading the way around things like the future generations work that we're doing here, the work on renewables that we're doing here, that we at the IWA have been championing, for instance, and how we should be taking climate change very, very seriously indeed in terms of what it's going to mean, particularly for places like Cardiff, for instance, in the future. So those sorts of global conversations that are happening, but that matter here too, that's something they can be doing.
I mean, when it comes to the question of an investiture, Mark Drakeford hinting that it's a way off, if you ask him. David Ellis-Thomas, the former Plaid leader, suggesting it's never going to happen. Why is the investiture so emotional for you and other Welsh nationalists? And I mean, I think we've got some pictures of Prince Charles's investiture to remind us what one looks like. I mean, it's a very old-fashioned ceremony.
Well, I'm not actually a Welsh nationalist or a British nationalist. I'm an internationalist. But I think one of the reasons is Wales is the poorest country in the United Kingdom. We produce coal, iron, and steel. There's a real sense of marginalisation that we've given so much to democracy. The NHS was born here. We're still marginalised within this state.
But what is it about this ceremony that is important?
Well, I think it represents everything that's wrong. That some people have so much and other people have so little. So I hope that we'll see the biggest ever demonstrations that Wales has seen if this investiture takes place.
Do you think that's likely?
I don't know. I would imagine that now any investiture that might take place would be a very, very different kettle of fish to what happened in 1969.
I mean, everyone's saying that, and you it's so different to the
Wales
conversation in England, because you kind of think everything in England is going to be exactly the same as it was.
Well, I think,
and everything in Wales is supposed to be different.
But I think, Christian, titles and things matter differently to different people. For some people, they matter because they are a symbol of that continuation and of that history, and for others, they don't matter at all because they know that these are ceremonial things that take place. I would imagine that with the slimming down of the monarchy that we've seen over recent years in any case, I would imagine the new Prince of Wales would be keen to make sure that he is seen in that continuation of that light. I don't know. I don't have a hotline to the Prince of Wales. And we'll wait and see, but I think we're a little way off that.
And do you give the King any credit for speaking Welsh today, for reaching out to people?
I think it's great that people will learn this very historic language. But also I think, touching on what you said, I think monarchy used to have a mystique and a majesty about it, but it's almost become a soap opera that some people are very addicted to, but others are looking for more nourishment.